Councillors, staff and members of the gallery, welcome to this public forum of Wednesday 27th of November. I'll ask the General Manager to read out a few house rules.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we're meeting on and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. The meeting's being audio and video recorded and the recording will be made available on the internet. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by Council to do so. In relation to Have Your Say or the public forum, all speakers are requested to ensure their comments are relevant to the particular agenda item. The chairperson may withdraw the privilege to speak where a speaker makes personal remarks or criticisms or uses abusive or inappropriate language. Speakers do not enjoy any special protection arising from comments made during this forum and should therefore refrain from making defamatory remarks or personal defamatory statements against any individual. And could all mobile phones and laptops be set to silent, please? Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks very much, Mr General Manager. Councillors, we have 4 speakers for the Have Your Say. Today we have Mr Jeff Parker speaking for item 7.2, which is the appointment of council representatives to council committees and panels. We have Mr Steve Widders speaking for item 10.3, the civic and ceremonial functions and representation policy, as is Ms Elizabeth O'Hara also speaking for that particular item. And a late change to the lineup, we have Mr John Sewell is speaking against item 9.1, insurance payable under lease to Armidale Livestock Selling Agents Proprietary Limited. So it's a packed half hour ahead of us. I'd like to ask Mr Jeff Parker to come up and speak and we will hear what he has to say. Now, all speakers, we have 5 minutes. And then the councillors may elect to ask you questions.
Okay, thank you. I'm here today to talk about the role and the function of the Access Committee. I lobbied for a few years after the amalgamation to get the Access Committee re-established as it was prior to the amalgamation. When we restarted the Access Committee, it was brought up that we could only concern ourselves with the Disability Inclusion Action Plan, which we agreed to. But this is partly my fault. Prior to the amalgamation, the Access Committee gave advice and recommendations to Council and other government and non-government entities. If I can just give a couple of examples, a fast food chain was changing their front doors from automatic to push doors. We had a couple of people approach the Access Committee and asked us to write a letter on their behalf saying that push door would make it too hard for them to get in and out of their premises, which we did do. Unfortunately, they were within their rights and they ignored our advice and recommendations, which, you know, they have every right to. But on the flip side of that, when the bowling club did their major renovations a few years ago, they asked members of the Access Committee to go down and give feedback on the renovations. I went down with Steve Austin, which nearly everyone here knows. The only thing we could find was that the doors were too heavy. So he gave feedback saying that the doors need to be readjusted. So they're just a couple of examples of the Access Committee giving advice and recommendations to other parties as well as Council. I have a support worker who used to be the Assistant Deputy Director for Accessibility for the Privacy Commissioner. And when I was telling him about the roles and functions of the Access Committee back in 2013, 2016, my support worker asked me if I ever heard of the Wayback Machine. And I said no, and he said, well, that's what it does. goes to government websites and takes a screenshot of their websites and it stores it, and you can go in and search. Now, I know council knows this because in 2019 and 2020, council went back and changed some of the records in the Wayback Machine. But in there is where I found those documents you have in front of you there. I've highlighted them all with the roles and functions of the Access Committee, including giving advice and recommendations to other government organisations and non-government organisations. And that's what I'm asking here today is if the Access Committee is re-established, that we broaden our role to include the entire community to improve access for all citizens, not just those with disabilities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parker. Is there anything else you wish to say in some time you've got left?
Just that it's really important that with the Access Committee to make Armidale inclusive for everyone, and that's what we've been striving to do. I've been part of the Access Committee since 1999, so I've been there for quite a while. And we've got new members and some old members that have been there for 20, well, Steve Watson's been there for 30, 40 years, so yeah, that's probably about all I've got to say on that. I just hope council acknowledges my request and adopts it as part of the functions and roles of the Access Committee for, for the future.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Councillors, any questions?
Sure.
Councillor Witters.
This is more of a question for the GM in regards to Jeff's issue. When the Access Committee first meets, after we do our thing later on, will there be chance for terms of reference to be written and some of Jeff's requests to be put in to the terms of reference from that?
There are terms of reference. They can be included in those terms of reference if they're still not already there. I haven't seen the terms of reference since 2016, so I'm not sure, but hopefully we can put them in there.
Thank you. I'll throw to the General Manager just to round that out.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd echo those sentiments. I think it's up to the committee there'll be a framework for terms of reference, and then if there's anything specific the committee would like to add within reason, it can do so.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillors, any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Parker. I'll let you take your seat. That'll all be considered, no doubt. Councillors, our next speaker is Mr. Steve Witters, speaking for item 10.3.
Is that on? Oh, thanks. Thanks, Mayor. To all people here and to all people online, welcome. Tanganadaga, Tanganagawanga, Yaka ana wanoyina, Inja ana wakiunda. Yaki yina, Inja kiunda, Inja nyambeka kiona, Nyambeka orala. Altala rakinya, Inja kiunda. Not me rinyara, Nyambeka kiunda. I've just acknowledged that I'm on Aboriginal land here, we all are. Some of you who are on screen may also be on Aboriginal land, but no matter where you are in Australia, you're on Aboriginal land. Just as a bit of a background, I used to work as a Aboriginal liaison officer with Armidale City Council. In 2008, Council had a proposal put up to them to acknowledge on the Welcome to City signs that we are on the land of the Anawan people. That was passed unanimously by that council in 2008. I don't think any of you here in this room were on that council. But also in 2023, on the 24th of July, if you go through your papers, this council again accepted and acknowledged that we are on Aboriginal land and passed a resolution to put that up on the signs. 24th of July 2023. Think about the times there. No action on it. Just the same as before, no action on the resolution that went through in 2008 either. I worked in council till 2014 as an Aboriginal liaison officer here. Nothing has been done since 2014 about this matter, which has been before council many times. The last time I spoke to council, I said, you are community leaders. You make decisions. You make harsh decisions that not many people like raising rates, for example, but you make decisions and you have to live with those decisions. You made a decision, the council, and there were 5 of you on this council who were on that council then last year. The majority of you in the room today. There are 4 newcomers here that wasn't elected on the council then, but the 5 that were, you know what I'm talking about. Why has it been so long with no action? Is it because we're Aboriginal? Is it because it's an Indigenous issue? Why does it go, 15 months without anything happening? What's the problem? What's the issue? You're community leaders. Do something about it. You passed it. The resolution was passed, 9 to 10. And the only reason the 10th person didn't vote because she wasn't here. So what about it? It seems to me, I'm blind, and so is the former speaker. We seem to have more vision than what your councillors do. You make a decision, stick by it. That's all I'm asking. I'm speaking in favour of this decision. I think you should do it today. Make that decision. Act on it. And I'm very disappointed, Mr. Mayor and councillors that were there on the 24th of July last year, that it's been taken over to this new council. Why? Are all matters like that? Or again, I'll ask, is it an Indigenous thing? We've got an Aboriginal liaison officer here at council now who replaced me. You've got the person here to do it, to do the more community engagement, to talk to Aboriginal people, but no more talking. No more talking. You can talk till you go black in the face. Whatever you keep on talking all the time and you're not acting on it, what's the point? What's the use? And I'm asking you all as community leaders, as councillors, who put your hand up to represent this community and to make a difference in the community, to do something about this. I want to see this done in my lifetime. Please, councillors, can you do something about it, and staff, and not talk about it, not consult anymore, act on it. Twice it's been before resolutions and passed. When are we going to do it? You'll get a bad reputation for not doing things that you vote on. You just voted on it. You voted in support of it. Unanimous decision. Come on, let's do something.
Thanks, Mr. Witters. Councillors, any questions, comments for Mr. Witters?
So I made my point clear, did I? I hope so.
I think you did, Mr. Witters. There was a fair bit of background to it. I'd be happy to chat to you as well, but I think we're on the right path. So,
well, I hope so, yeah?
Thank you.
I hope so, because I don't want to be coming back here again and saying the same thing. I did it in 2008, and I'm doing it again now. Please don't make me come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Hang on a thing. Just to, no, it's just more of a comment, just to allay your concerns. There will, based on the paperwork, there will be an amendment put up. So if you just hang around and have a look at that later on, it should allay your concerns. I hope so.
Thank you, Mr. Witters. I'd now like to call upon Ms. O'Hara to come up and speak for item 10.3.
And like all good school teachers, I've got a PowerPoint slide, but it's only 2 slides. Good afternoon, councillors and fellow members of the community. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of this land and acknowledge their ongoing relation to language, culture and land, which has never ceded. I also acknowledge the grave losses faced by First Nations people living here since the European occupation. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the draft civic and ceremonial function and representation policy. As I wrote in my submission, my interest in the question of the traditional owners of this place stems from teaching local history here. In the late 1970s, I became aware of the vice-regal visit of 1893, which is the subject of this slide. As you're probably aware, it recounts the visit of Lord and Lady Jersey to Armidale in February 1893. On both sides of the arch, it reports, were placed groups of Aboriginals of the New England or Kamathagang tribe, Old King Malawunji with a pickaninny being on the summit of the arch. The script above the image of Malawunji wearing his breastplate reads, King Robert, King Malawunji, leader of the Oban tribe, the Kamathagangs. Most of his descendants are still in the Armidale region today. That used to be on the Armidale Regional Council's website and hasn't been for some time. I imagine it's been archived. I also became aware of the many place names which mark massacre sites and knew that Mount Duval has the Gumbaynggirr name of Dewan Bandin, which I recently learned means open running water. I followed with interest the February-March 2020 council poll to name the new playground in Curtis Park, which saw the name Malawunji the most popular choice, and became aware that the Anwan Aboriginal Lands Council is in Opal Street in Inverell, where the documentation of the handover of the Ballangaranda Aboriginal area in 2020, formerly Mount Yarrawick, is housed there. Today I'd like to focus on the first point in my submission. It appears inappropriate for ARC to be making decisions such as these when native title claims involving people other than the Anwan are currently being heard, including for areas within the Armidale boundary. The native title registration test has selection criteria which a claimant must meet before a native title claim can be lodged. This process is currently being undertaken in Walker, and Armidale expects to follow. The criteria require demonstrated proof of connection to land and kinship to ancestors recognised by the High Court of Australia. Another submission on page 428 of the attachments in front of you recounts a comment from a director of the Office of Local Government. Council has no role in relation to determining issues pertaining to local cultural Indigenous issues, including native title issues. So when I'm saying I'm speaking to the amendment, to the motion, I'm asking that to a couple of things. One is that at the C and D of the motion, calling for further community consultation sounds like a really good idea. But let's take the whole issue a little step further and emphasise that there is a process, a due process that doesn't involve council, that is about to be undertaken. And I'll look at what else can council do. This is a slide that just links to a few of the really terrific resources about our Aboriginal history. And it would be really heartening to see on the council website, it may be there, but I can't find it, information and links that include these sorts of references. So I do empathise with those who look forward to signage such as we see across Australia up as you go past Glen Innes and you know which land you're on. But I urge council to leave the decision-making to the appropriate body, which is a native title tribunal. A very wise Gomeroi woman said to me just a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this issue, it's not for people outside the community to make these decisions. Across Australia, there are a number of contested areas, quite a substantial number, and there is a process, and it won't involve the heartache and the public recriminations that this decision such as going ahead and putting the signage up now would make here.
Thank you, Ms O'Hara. Councillors, any questions? Looks like there's a couple. Liz, could you just turn your microphone off, please? Thank you. No, Councillor Witters.
Thanks, Liz. A few comments, a few questions as we go along here. As you know, I've worked with you in the Education Department. We've both been involved in that. as someone who studied Aboriginal studies while at school and also helped teach history and Aboriginal studies during my time in the education department, you'll know I have a few issues, I suppose, and we can chat about this as we go along, in regards to some of the stuff you've put on here. For those with knowledge of the history, those King's plates don't have any traditional value. They were given to Aboriginal community members by the government, or for lack of better words, by the white man at the time, to those people within the community who could communicate for their people with the government at the time. They really have no more cultural significance than what my councillor badge does. It's the same sort of thing. And also you mentioned a comment there about Juambandi and Mount Javal. The actual real name for that mountain is, and it follows all the high points within Annual land. You may have seen it is written as Guttumburrumby, but it's pronounced Guttumburrumby, Gutta being the Annual word for high or great, and Umburrumby being the name of the mountain. My question to you in regards to this whole issue, and appreciate the fact that you've gone to the effort to put it here, is knowing the information that's been there and seeing the other reports in my original motion in June of last year, we had a letter from Gumbaynggirr elders from Nambucca which stated that this area was not Gumbaynggirr. We have another letter in the submissions today from a different Gumbaynggirr group stating the same thing. And the Gumbaynggirr language, as put in my submission there, that says that the Guy Fawkes area, which is Ebor, Guy Fawkes River, in their language, in their own language, is Jarrawan land, with Jarrawan being the Gumbaynggirr pronunciation of Annawan. Within your knowledge of history and Aboriginal culture, where else have you seen someone's land be determined by one person in regards to, as you said here? Because I know that breastplate that King Robert King, as some people within his descendants would say, is the same breastplate that in the Bullagaranda book that you spoke about, a guy by the name of Pete Dunn has the same breastplate. So which one of them is the actual king, like if you're using that? So just on your information based on that. So a lot of the information that you've just given out there is up for interpretation or correction. Any thoughts on that?
Maureen, I've got a couple of thoughts. One is that I'm not here to argue the relative merits of the cases, to be honest. I'm here to say that this isn't an appropriate thing for council to be making a decision on, that there is a body, has been established to make exactly these sorts of representations, to deliberate and to hand down a decision. So that's the first part of what I'd say. The second part of what I'd say is that it's the process that is set down by the group that, sorry, I'm a bit flummoxed, not flummoxed, just a bit, I'm aware of the sensitivities of the issue, and I really don't want to offend people for any reason, but I think it's really not appropriate for this body here to be making these decisions. And as I said in my talk, the test is quite a separate thing. It's not about one group saying who or what should be the case. It's about a group establishing their right to make a native title claim. And I think it would be appropriate for those sorts of considerations that you're bringing up to be considered there, but not here. It's not. It just seems to me to be inappropriate.
Okay. And because you reminded me of the third thing that I was talking about, native title. As someone that's just come out of a position with DECU, Department of Energy, Environment, Climate Change and Water, we deal a lot in that position that I was in with native title, and knowing that there's not a native title claim in the works in this area, hasn't been done. The closest native title claim here is the Gomeroi or Kamilaroi land claim to the west, which actually impacts Armidale Regional Council. A lot of other councils have acknowledgement of country signs up without a native title determination, so the precedent within local government has already been set. A lot of the state is not covered by native title determinations. There's only a few actual native title determinations that have been made. With the precedent already being set that the local government has made decisions without native title determinations being made and no active native title claim being here, how long do you think council and the community should wait before an actual native title claim has come in before they make a decision?
Again, I really don't think that's a question that's appropriate for me to answer. It's a process. And I do empathise with people who would really like to be able to say, this is what it is. But there's due process, and it seems to me that we've waited, Aboriginal people have waited a very long time. They can wait to have it done with dignity and with that sort of forethought and informed process behind it.
Okay, thanks, Ms. O'Hara. Oh, Councillor McMichael, maybe a question rather than a statement would be best.
Well, I'm just going, no.
No, thank you. Thanks, Ms. O'Hara. Terrific. All right, I'd like to call up Mr. John Sewell to speak against item 9.1, insurance payable under the lease to Armidale Livestock selling agents. You do.
Well, right, away we go. Mr. Mayor, councillors and staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak against whatever item and number it is.
9.1.
Yeah, firstly, I must let you know that we haven't had very long to prepare for this. We became aware of it, or ALSA, the Agents Association, became aware of it on Monday, and I was away and only flew into Armidale late last night, so we really haven't had much time to prepare. So basically it'll be short and sweet. I think one of the first points really is what are the sale yards, and I'm sure you all know what happens at the sale yards. The vendors bring their livestock in and the buyers turn up and the agents wield their magic wand and away they go and the cattle are sold. But the sale yards are more than that. The sale yards are sale day, and on sale day, the primary producer families come to town. The wife goes and gets her hair done. She might go and spend some money in the town. She'll do the shopping. Hubby goes to Graze Ag or Nutrient or wherever he wants to go to get his goods and chattels, and then they might go and see their solicitor or accountant. So all the services and all the retailers of Armidale have got a vested interest in what happens at the sale yards, and I think we shouldn't lose track of that, of the importance of the sale yards to Armidale. We've had a sale yards here since 1880 or thereabouts, which is a long time. The Agents Association, which is it refers in the report that they're a conglomerate of businesses. The Agents Association is a proprietary limited company. It has shareholders, which are the 7 agents in town. No dividends or money is ever taken out of that company. It's run to run the sale yards, and that's its primary function. And on that note, there's a little spreadsheet here that from July 2018 to January 2024, so nearly 5 years, they've spent $600,000 on the sale yards out of that company to keep the sale yards running. Also referred to in the report is the $9.7 million that's being spent, I understand, by the state government. Mm-hmm. And the facilitating and the of getting that money spent and that upgrade happen has fallen fairly squarely on the shoulders of the livestock selling agents association.
I'm conscious of time. We're 2 minutes 50 into it, and we've had history. I caution you, you're really going to have to land on something.
Right. Okay. Well, look. Basically, the point is that the agents are the conduit from the council to the primary producers of Armidale. The issue in 9 point whatever, and to get hurried along by Sam, I will, is the payment of the insurance, which has been an invoice raised for 5 years' worth of insurance. There's a huge amount of correspondence back in 2018 when the leases were getting negotiated between the council and the Agents Association. And a little bit of that is referred to in your report, and I think this is the crux of it. In essence, it was agreed that the council would pay the insurances for the assets, and that's clearly demonstrated in the letter that's annexed to your report in Clifton Legal's letter, point whatever it is, and I'll hurry up in case Sam gets on to me again.
I will.
Point
There's
6,
a
I think it
clock
is.
there.
Yeah, and also there's another annexure, and on page 174, item under agreements made with ARC, item 1 also clearly states that council would meet the cost of the insurance. There's further documents that aren't annexed to your report, which are here, and there's a huge amount of correspondence between Peter Wilson and Victor Moore, God rest his soul. But the interesting one is a document produced by Peter Wilson, who, and I don't know whether Peter Wilson's still at the council or whether he's not, but he was an employee of the council at the time. And in that is a table, and I've got a copy here if anyone wants it. And in that table, it outlines the responsibilities of various things. And clearly it says the insurance for the property assets at Armidale, current, are the responsibility of ARC, and the insurance of the property assets at Gyra from 2019, 1st January 2019, are the responsibility of ARC. So, in the Agents Association's point of view, the insurances were meant to be paid by the council. Now, there's a clause in the lease, which is a standard law society lease, and it's a standard clause. It hasn't been amended, but it was left in the lease, and there's much correspondence in the agents' files where they talk to their solicitor and they'd like it taken out, but the lease had already been signed. So that's where the letter from David Tilbury arises. Peter Party, who's now deceased as well.
Okay, Mr. Searle, I'm going to pull you up there. We're 6 minutes in.
Right, okay.
I'm going to give you 30
All right,
seconds.
okay. Well,
to
I'll
have
ask
an
you
answer.
what
we don't need history.
All right. So the agents don't believe that they should pay the thing, but they did offer to pay half the insurances. What we would like you to ask you to do is that you postpone any decision on the officer's recommendations for the Agents Association to have enough time to propose a solution to the impasse that we have over the insurance. And I think there's been some discussion about that. And secondly, to give the Agents Association the opportunity to put forward a proposed lease structure so that we can enter into a new lease and the agents can go back to selling livestock and the council can go back to being a landlord. So that's my request of you.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Searle. Councillors, any questions?
Mr. Searle, you mentioned there that through all of that the agent offered to pay 50%. Is that, and from what I can understand from what you said, that they were, that's through the good grace of them to sort of keep things going?
Yes, the agents wanted to...
Oh, sorry, Mr. Searle.
Am I right? Yes, right. The agents wanted to try and move forward, and primarily what they'd like to do is enter into a new lease under similar terms and conditions that they have with the council, which is now expired. And they felt by offering 50%, then that gave the council an opportunity to pick that up and move forward. It was against the advice of their solicitors.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Searle. All right, councillors and gallery, we'll just have a 5-minute leg stretch. Those that feel the need to flee, please do so. We will start at 4:10 for the ordinary council meeting. Thanks very much, speakers. Good. All right, councillors, staff members of the gallery, welcome to this ordinary council meeting of Wednesday, 27th of November. Could I call upon Councillor Tabor to provide a civic affirmation?
Now, we, the Council of Armidale Regional, declare that we'll undertake the duties of the office of council, the best interests of the community, and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions and powers and authorities and discretions that invest in us to the best of our skills and judgment.
Thanks, Councillor Tabor. And could I call upon Councillor Witters to provide an acknowledgement of country?
Yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge that we meet on Aboriginal land today, and on behalf of the council and councillors, pay our respects to my countrymen and countrywomen and elders of the land on which we meet today.
Thanks, Councillor Witters. I'll call upon the General Manager to make a statement regarding live streaming.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the website. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by council to do so. And could all phones and computers be set to silent, please? Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Mr General Manager. Councillors, we have no apologies or leave of absence. That brings me to disclosures of interest. So having reviewed the agenda, do any councillors need to declare a conflict of interest? Councillor Witters.
I'll declare this, but it's a non-pecuniary interest, but just because it'll get mentioned a fair bit in some of the papers for 10.3, just mentioning that but I do intend to stay in the room and vote.
Thank you very much. Councillor Witters. All right, councillors, the first item is item 5.1, confirmation of minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 23rd of October 2024. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor McMichael, and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Imad. Councillor McMichael, anything to say there?
No, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Imad? No. All right, councillors, all those in favour of accepting those minutes? Thank you. I declare that carried. Councillors, we have one mayoral minute for the open session and a second mayoral minute in the closed session. So 6.1 is the open session. This is around just changing the date of the December ordinary council meeting. So on the 9th of October, we resolved the meeting schedule through until June 2025, recognising the Christmas break and allowing staff to finalise actions from the December meeting. It's proposed that the December meeting be moved forward a week to be held on Wednesday, the 11th of December. I did have a time in there, though no, that's all good, 11th of December. So as chair, I move this minute. Can we just put that to the vote? All those in favour?
Ask a question.
You sure can.
The General Manager's briefing is normally at 4 p.m. on Monday, the 9th. Is that still going to be the case?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Robinson. Our calendars have been updated accordingly.
Okay.
Councillor McMichael.
I feel like there's something on all day, but that's all right.
I'm sure we can make it work. Thank you. Just again, all those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 7.2, this is a standing item and is a guide to councillors in making their ethical decisions. So councillors being asked to note the report. Details are from page 6 of the agenda. So can I call for a mover for what's on the screen, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood. A seconder. Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Anything to say, Councillor Redwood? Councillor Robinson? All right. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 7.2 is, actually it was the topic of our first Have Your Say speaker. This is about the appointment of councillor representative to council committees and panels. So the item is asking councillors asking council to formalise the appointment of councillors to various committees, and as other opportunities or invitations arise, the Mayor can determine representation and report back to council. On the screen there are some recommendations. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Witters, and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor McMichael. Councillor Witters, would you like to
Yeah, I'd like to move this with a slight alteration. Point 2, Access Advisory Committee, through change Councillor Robinson to Councillor Witters.
Thank you. So that's your what you're moving.
Substantive motion, yeah.
Because I sought a seconder and received it, I'll just have to check that that's okay with the seconder. It's fine. Thanks, Councillor Witters. Do you wish to speak to that?
But otherwise, yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Anything to say about?
No, I think this, yeah, we'll talk about these. I think they're a good opportunity for councillors to interact with their community and hear different voices and bring those representations back to council for council decisions and to discuss with the staff. I know, and there is some good positive ones in there, like the Project 030, some of the stuff we did last meeting, I think, come out of that. So anyone in the community that wants to be involved in helping council make decisions, get in contact with the council, find out how you can be involved in some of these committees, and later on I think the key pillar working groups, because that's what these committees are for, is to give communities and different organisations some voices. So utilise that democratic right that you have.
Excellent. Thanks, Councillor Witters. Councillor McMichael is the seconder. Anything to say?
Oh, I'd like to echo Councillor Witters' sentiments. There are a huge variety of committees available. I'm particularly looking forward to the Public Library Association committees. Libraries we use our library a huge amount, and how we use libraries is changing, and why we use what we do with books and how we dispose of books is a concern. Also, book banning is a serious issue across the country. And like Councillor Witters said, it's a chance to bring back to the council and to the community issues of interest and bring everybody in and let everyone know what's happening. So let's look out for the committees and what they do and how you can be involved in them. Thanks.
Terrific. Thanks, Councillor McMichael. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak to this? All right, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 7.3, this is around the reintroduction of the key pillar working groups. And the key pillar working groups, they're the primary vehicle for councillors and the community to influence policy decision and to advocate for specific projects. This is something that had mixed success in the last council term. I'm really confident with the current makeup of council and the right direction and leadership, these can be a really valuable outlet. And sort of key to this to work is, and it's in the motion, there is a proposed community plan round table that will happen first, and this will be we'll send out invitations to the community and seek expressions of interest to participate in that round table, and that will provide direction for the key pillar working groups as well. So details are from page 10 of the agenda. Can I have a mover for a motion, please? Everyone's in. Councillor Gadders was first. Councillor Witters was Councillor Gadders moved it. Councillor Witters, you can second it. Councillor Gadders, anything to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to be brief, look, I think this is an extremely good concept. We've seen in the previous item that we have more formalised committees available to us to interact with the community. This is probably a more informal setting, and I think that offers its own set of values. I believe I echoed the thoughts of what you said earlier, Mr. Mayor. There was some hit and miss in last term around these particular, but I believe bringing into the community plan roundtable as one of the initial steps is going to be the way to bring this back onto track. Like any committee or group, you know, the effort you put in will be reaped in the effort that you get out. So that's probably the best way that they can move forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Gadders. Councillor Witters.
Yeah, good point from both Councillor Gadders and yourself about the hit and miss. But to get something right, you've got to start something. Last term, I think these were the first time council's tried this sort of thing. Yes, there were some misses, but there were some good hits as well. Some really good positive stuff coming out of it. I know the committee that Councillor McMichael and myself was on in the Enriched region led to something good within the community. For the life of me, I can't think of the name of the position at the moment, but if you know, you know. One of the young people terms for you, Mr. Mayor. But again, this is a good place for the community to get stuff done and their voices heard. If there is a big pressing issue within the community that you know of and you'd like one of these key pillar working groups to really dig deep into, speak to a councillor, get them to start advocating and pushing for that. And the positives that come out of this sort of thing and the community-led engagement and drive, the potential is limitless. I think it can only get better this term as we iron out some of the kinks from last term.
Thanks, Councillor Witters. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak to this item? Councillor Robinson.
Well, as you say, it was a question that this time, the last ones didn't really work very well. And I just wanted to offer a couple of suggestions for this one, because we haven't had a roundtable yet. And I did wonder if it would be more efficient to have a round table for each key pillar working group, because that would allow a greater focus on the particular issues of each pillar group, to achieve the how do we know we've arrived objectives of each section of the community plan. And then that would allow it to be better aligned with the terms of reference. And I think the other problem last time was there wasn't a mechanism last time to share the workloads among council members and staff. And I think the recommendation this time to have that in the plan hopefully will mean that it will work. But since I'm a little bit unsure about whether it will work, whether it won't, I don't want to vote against it, but I'm not sure I want to vote for it either, unless, we manage to get all these, we manage to make sure we've got the attitude that it's going to work. So I will leave it up to everybody else to support it, and hopefully it will work and we'll get the things done that we want to.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor McMichael.
For the community, I think sometimes key pillar working groups sounds a bit cumbersome, but it's actually really effective things like health, or childcare, which are really crucial issues. It's tourism. So the group that Councillor Witters and I were on actually looked at why doctors don't come, why health practitioners don't come, and looked at the gaps in the region. And we worked with all the people who are involved in that and all the groups that are involved in that, and found out that housing is a significant issue. And so we work with real estate agents to work with houses and practical issues. So even though the names are cumbersome, when the community and people say, what is this? So speak to your councillors about what are your issues and say, how can our issues be fixed or talked about or discussed with councillors? And what we can try and do is find a community group or a working group to look at the issues and try and fix them and try and talk about them and see what effects we can have for the next few years. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, councillors, if there are no further comments, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour with proceeding? Thank you. I declare that carried. Councillor Robinson, just for clarity, you were an abstention? Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Item 7.4 is the council actions report. Now this is really the actions taken in this term of council. So it's really from it's from October. Council is being asked to note the report. The details are from page 13 of the agenda and page 21 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen. Can I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood. What about a seconder? Thanks, Councillor. Gathers. Councillor Redwood, do you wish to speak to it? No, thanks. Councillor Gathers? All right, well, councillors, let's put this to a vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Robinson would like to speak to it.
Yeah, and I just want to say quickly that it was a bit of a shame, I thought, that all the unimplemented actions from the previous council term were dropped from this report. But rather than take up time today, what I will do is ask a question about them on notice for the next meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. All right, councillors, all those in favour of noting the council actions report? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 8.1 is the cash and investment report for the 31 October, or for October 2024. So the report provides an overview of the cash and investments for the month. And at the end of October this year, Council held $132 million in investments and $11.5 million in cash. There was also around $316,000 worth of interest earned in this period. For those watching at home, there is an error in the table at the bottom of page 14, where the total term deposits in September is reported as 128 million, but it was actually 134 million. So if you can just note that. Details are from page 14 of the agenda, and as I said, Council is being asked to note this report. So there is a recommendation on the screen that we note the report. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Robinson, and a seconder, Councillor McMichael. Councillor Robinson, what would you like?
Thank you for the information.
Terrific. Councillor McMichael, anything?
It's been a very busy month, and I thank everyone for all their work.
Excellent. Right, councillors, let's vote on this. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 8.2 is a presentation of the audited financial statements. So they have been completed, audited and presented. The item is asking Council to note the report on the presentation of the statements for the year ended 30 June 2024. Details are from page 21 of the agenda and 44 of the attachments, and there is a recommendation on the screen. Can I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Robinson, and seconded Councillor Redwood. Councillor Robinson, do you wish to speak to it?
Well, I've moved it, but I would also like to add as a comment in my comments that it would be very nice if residents were able to see and download a copy of the financial statements that is searchable and highlightable without specialist software, but I'll note it anyway and we don't need to change the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redwood.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Whilst signing these off, I was delighted to be walked through these by our Chief Officer Newsom, and find that this council's found itself in a stable financial position at last. So congratulate everyone concerned, and it's a great place for us to be in, and it does signify a much better future for our region. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. All right, councillors, all those in favour of noting the audited financial reports? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Councillors, item 9.1, this is regarding the insurance payable under lease to the Armidale Livestock selling agents. We had a speaker to that effect. There is a recommendation on the screen outlining some steps to be taken. So we can have a mover, Councillor Gadders. Councillor Gadders, are you looking to move something?
Yes, I would, please. Sorry, Mr Mayor, just scrapping through the screens here. Look, folks, on 9.1, I think we had got some additional and valuable information through the Have Your Say session. I thank for that being provided. What I would like to suggest is that we defer this particular item until a future meeting, and we take a look at some of that additional information, as well as look at perhaps better commercial arrangements for the back end of this. So the motion I'm moving is to defer this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gadders. And a seconder, Councillor Robinson, you've flung your hand up. You can be the seconder.
I was seconding it.
Okay, terrific. All right. That is that's the motion at foot. Would any councillors like to speak before we vote on that motion?
If Councillor Gaddes doesn't want to speak to his motion for deferment, I'd like to speak against it. Or ask a question anyway. Not against deferment, not speaking against, ask the question, sorry, Claire.
Sorry, you'd like to ask a question of Councillor Gadders? Yep, sure.
The additional information you speak of from the have your say, just refresh my memory on what that was for me, please, if you could.
Absolutely. So in the Have Your Say session, the person was able to suggest that there were some additional emails that were going backwards and forwards at the time post signing the lease and also at the time of signing the lease. And I don't believe that those were here in the attachments and the documents. So I'd like to take the opportunity to have a look at those myself, just to be a little bit more clear on the situation.
Thank you. I also believe with the Have Your Say, the Agents Association were going to make an offer and there'd be some more information forthcoming as well. So that'd come in by the appropriate officers. All right. Councillors, any other questions or comments before we put this to a vote to defer the motion? Right. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 10.1, Code of Conduct Complaint Statistics. Council is being asked to receive and note the annual Code of Conduct statistics for the reporting period, the 1st of September 2023 to the 31st of August 2024. To me, it was interesting to note that there were 6 Code of Conduct complaints in the period, 5 have been finalised and 1 is outstanding. The total cost of those complaints was $5,850. The details are from page 35 of the agenda and 177 of the attachments. Can I have a mover that we note these? Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Seconded, Councillor Imad. Councillor Robinson.
My only comment is we did have a discussion on Monday which says that the other outstanding one has now been finalised. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarity. Councillor Imad, anything to say? No? Councillors, does anyone wish to speak to this?
I'd just like to say I6 is a lot less than we used to have, and it's great to be going down, and let's hope we have less this time.
Terrific. Thanks, Councillor McMichael. All right, councillors, all those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 10.3 is the ARC Annual Report and State of the Region Report. So Council is required to publish an annual report within 5 months of the end of the financial year, and also included with this is the rather grandly titled State of the Region Report, which has to be produced at the end of each council term. So the recommendation on the screen is asking Council to endorse both reports. Details from page 55 of the agenda and 181 of the attachments. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Gadders, and a seconder can be Councillor Redwood. Councillor Gadders, wish to say anything?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, so large appreciation to all the team involved to bring these 2 reports together. I would like to outline for anybody online or you know, in the community, that this is your opportunity to look at, especially at the State of the Nation report, and understand what was achieved last term. It clearly outlines in some very, very black and white terms over the last 2 to 3 years, even right down to things like number of potholes filled and things like that, some great little metrics there in the State of the Nation. So this is where you should take the opportunity to get your bedtime reading from, and you know, the facts of what's been happening around the walls of council. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Redwood, anything to say?
Oh, only to say that it's the region, not the nation. But let's start with New England and then Australia next. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, I did actually enjoy reading the community plan pillars about how we will know we'd arrived, and looking at what was good and what we'd achieved and what we were still had to work very much harder on. That was very, very interesting. And I will just add another comment that it would be nice to, although I'm going to endorse it anyway, I would have liked to have seen updates being provided on the rail trail funding, because that's one of the very controversial issues which is now incorrect in the annual report and the state of the region report, and also just a couple of typos and the proportions of cycling and walking to work. Would be very nice to have that information as something, as an addendum, now that we almost certainly have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor McMichael.
I'd just like to say that this report is it's a great read, and it shows what we can do as a region. And I think I really like to thank the community for the special rate variation, because it shows the services that they want. It shows what we are doing or what we can do, and yeah, how we're going to be as a region, and all the exciting things like the potholes that are fixed. It's great. I love potholes being fixed. The traffic committee is my favourite. So thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Witters.
Yeah, just echo the thoughts of everyone else. Just to maybe Councillor Robinson can explain it to me. Will the change in the rail trail funding be in the next one? Because this is, at the time when this was written, that was a set standard funding. So will the change be reflected next year's annual report instead? Or
I'll have to defer to the GM as to what's usual with those things.
Yes, Mr Mayor.
There we go. Thank you. Not being a live document, it'll always have some historical time lags. All right, councillors, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of endorsing those reports? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Councillors, item 10.3 is a civic and ceremonial function representation policy. The item is appearing following a resolution from the July Ordinary Council meeting. There is a recommendation on the screen, but Councillor Witters, do you want to move something?
yeah, I'll move a different motion, a different recommendation, sorry. Move a motion to move it. The staff will hopefully have that for me. It'll be it's a substantive.
Sorry, it won't be. We've got our one-armed typist.
Yep. So to remove C, if you remove C from that.
Sorry, for those that are watching, she really has hurt her hand.
Remove the C and add that C in, will be the motion that I'm moving. So you just scroll back up the top for me there so I can read. Thank you. So removing the endorsement for further community consultation part, and adding, replacing it with yellow, just read it out for a few in the room. As per the 2023 motion from September, I believe it was, when Council made that decision, the Council commenced the erection of signs acknowledging Armidale as ancestral home of the Anaiwan people, starting with a request for designs with a 40-day expressions of interest from the community, and that final designs will be chosen by members of the Aboriginal Advisory Council in their first meeting, I should say, of 2025, and that design specifications will also be in consultation with the Traffic Advisory Committee. Moving that because, as mentioned in the Have You Say by Mr Witters, time for talks over in regards to getting things done. Having just driven back from Dubbo, every council that you pass through has an acknowledgement of country on their council signs. You go through Dubbo Regional Council, Gilgandra, I think, have got their own. Warren Bungles, Gunnedah, Tamworth, all have that sort of stuff. And this is the first step in getting Armidale Regional Council in line with the rest of the state in regards to that. There's a few things we're behind on. This is one of them. As has been said, enough talking is being done on this. This gets us the ball moving in regards to that, but also in regards to the rest of the region and all the other representations, you'll notice that there's, as part of the policy, that's there. This is just, as we've said before, this is the first step in regards to all of that, and it's not trying to determine native title or anything else like that. There's actually, I think, a provision in there that if native title determination happens, as mentioned, the Kamilaroi native title claim actually encompasses a bit of the northwestern part of Armidale Regional Council boundary. So there is the provision for that sort of stuff in there. So if any native title claim comes in, then signs can easily be changed or anything else like that. The precedent has been set, as I mentioned, to have your say speaker, that local government has made decisions without native title determinations. Most of the state is not under native title determinations. So these, the standard's already been there. So this is just an amendment to continue on with the work that we did last year and to get the ball rolling in regards to that, and then start the process in regards to the rest of the region as well.
Thanks, Councillor Witters. Could I have a seconder for the motion there? Thanks, Councillor McMichael. Do you wish to speak to anything, Councillor McMichael?
To support what Councillor Witters said, the previous council in September agreed to the signs. This is the practical notion of what we're going to do. The boundaries of the signs are specific, and we are going to do more consultation about the regional council and the regional council area, and I support this motion entirely. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just
sorry, could I up the bag? We don't have no interjections, please. Otherwise, we'll have to.
I'll just clarify. It's not about native title, and when and if native title happens, we'll change the signs.
Thank you. All right, councillors. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Imad. Oh, sorry. Yep, we'll go Councillor Imad, then Councillor Robinson.
I think after what I heard on Monday in the briefings and the various disputes between different tribes, I'd like council to stay out of any warring factions, and I think we call on some reconciliation between the various parties, disputing parties, and once there's a resolution, come back to council and we deal with the matter then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
I'm also concerned that this might divide the community, and I also know that native title claims are, and they seem to be fairly strong native title claims, are currently being prepared. And I was told that the process to assess those claims was pretty thorough, and that those conducting it will be far more qualified than I am to fairly consider all the evidence and make a judgment. So I really think that unless it's going to take a long, long time, like 4 or 5 years, then I really think I'd rather wait, because we have had, you know, I mean, Indigenous First Nations people have been the owners of this land for a long, long time, and just waiting 2 or 3 years longer to get the correct judgment would be probably far better for this community.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson.
Any other speakers?
Yeah, I'll wait for any other speakers before you exercise your right of reply. Councillor Redwood.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess perhaps to you, Councillor Witters, but in other successful claims of native title in Australia, how long have these claims taken to resolve or to land a result?
Yeah, good question. At the moment, as I said, the Gomeroi native title claim I think has been going for at least 15 years minimum, up to 20 years. So yeah, a long time. Even if to get it started and to get it actually in there takes a lot of work. And just to the couple of points made by Councillor Ahmed and Councillor Robertson, I appreciate the thoughts, but as was mentioned in the Have Your Say, like we've heard that before. Communities have heard all that sort of stuff before. It's not about, there's no warring, there's no war. The information that was given to councillors from in the last council term and what was provided in the submissions of this provides enough evidence to move along. As I said, if a native title determination, as I said, 20 years, the sign, I'm sure we can change. It doesn't take much to change the signs. I think Armidale itself has changed its signs from Thrive in Armidale and Experience the Highs and everything else like that. So it's a pretty simple process if the signs need to be changed by determination by native title. But the overwhelming evidence, based on, for lack of a better word, anthropological evidence, with language, topographical boundaries, and the evidence of surrounding language and tribal groups. The evidence base from the Gomeroi native title claim, Dungari language, Gambangi language, Garrable, all that sort of stuff supports what is said here. So it's not personal opinions, it's not families, it's the anthropological and traditional overwhelming evidence that supports this, and that's why we want to move forward. But we also want to, by moving forward, it's about helping other parts of the region getting knowledge on what land sits within that part as well. So respecting all traditional boundaries within the Armidale Regional Council boundary is what this moving forward with this motion does.
Thanks, Councillor Witters. Does that answer your question, Councillor Redwood? I'm sorry, Councillor Tabor, can you just switch that?
No, look, could I say
no, before you do, I just need to get Councillor Redwood to answer. Thank you. Councillor Tabor.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm told that I can only ask a question, is that right?
No, you can make a statement.
Okay.
I thought you were answering Councillor Redwood's question, although in a somewhat lengthy. We'll see how we go.
Well, I suppose I'd like to say that I could and have to be guided by Councillor Witters. I mean, I'm not up to speed with all this, and I don't think the rest of us really are. But on saying that and listening to Mr. Witters speak today, it seems like this has been dragging on for so long. There has to be a decision made, and I think we should do that now. I just don't think we can put it off.
Thank you. Not unless it's a question. Okay.
Now, I understand Councillor Witters declared a conflict. Was there anyone before I got here that spoken against from the community?
Yes. Well, ish. Both were in. Yes, there was one speaker effectively for, if you like, and one against.
One against. My bad, I missed it.
Sorry. Thank you. All right. If there's no other councillors to speak, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of the motion as it is on the screen. Thank you. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those against. 2, 7, 2. I declare that carried. Thank you, Ms. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Vale, thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Vale. Thank you. Councillors, we're going to move to 11.1. Thank you. Righto. Thank you very much, Ms. Vale. Councillors, let's move on. Item 11.1, the Kempsey Road Status Report. This is a regular report providing updates on the Kempsey to Armidale Road Restoration Project. Council is being asked to note the information contained within it. There is a recommendation on the screen to that effect. Can I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Gadders. And a seconder can be Councillor Redwood. Councillor Gadders, anything you wish to say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you again to everybody who's involved in the K2A project. The restoration work is indeed very complex, and I also thank those writing the report for moving a large chunk of that information to the appendix this time, because it just grows in terms of its complexity. But if I could, through you, Mr. GM, if I could perhaps ask a question, Mr. GM.
Yes.
Excuse me. If I could perhaps ask a question through you, Mr. GM, to Chief Officer Manners, and it was to do with. I note in the report that was provided to us that Alinta, which is the organisation who's delivering the Oven Mountain pumped hydro project, I noticed in the report that it suggested they had not yet engaged geotechnical engineering services, and that has therefore been called as a significant risk to the project. So I guess my question is, you know, what's the risk and impact of them not having done this particular step yet?
I did. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. It is a pretty significant impact for the project. The roadworks are the first step in the project, and to do those roadworks effectively requires some geotechnical investigations. So they have not done that geotech, so they can't progress their roadworks at this point in time, and that in effect will delay their main works. Deferral of their main works because of their significant cost will actually result in some pretty significant costs to them as a contractor, but also potentially pushes that back in terms of delivery on the roadworks for the community as well.
Thank you. Does that?
Yeah, thank you. That answers the question. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redwood.
Yeah, thank you. Also, through the General Manager, if I could ask Chief Officer Manners a question which relates. So, based on what you've just told us then, have we been supporting them to be able to mitigate the risks associated with the issues that we have, you know, may experience?
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we've actually had a pretty strong working relationship with both ONPS and also who are the previous owners of that particular project, and then Alinta themselves. So we had a formal relationship with them throughout 2021, where we were meeting monthly around trying to align both the K2A project and also the delivery works for the Oven Mountain project. So that concluded in December 2021, that work. However, we continue to meet with them on a regular basis. And to speak to the risk, we actually spoke to them in July 2023, specifically talking about the need to engage geotech engineering capability. And we've been reinforcing the same messaging since. So we've been extremely flexible in the way that we've engaged with them, and the methodology in which we've tried to engage with them to develop their particular project. So we've been really quite strongly aligned with them as best we possibly can to reduce that risk.
Does that answer your question? It does. Thank you, Chief Officer Manners. Just if I could ask just a further question based on that response then, will it have an impact or be a risk to our project moving forward?
The answer is yes, but that's very difficult to quantify at this time. So the risk and the impact will depend on the extent of the works that are required by Alinta to service their development, and also the delivery timing. And lastly, the form of engagement that we have with Alinta as we progress those works. So, for example, if we try to deliver the works concurrently, the example is that we're trying to deliver the works concurrently because it would result in some great savings for the community. It would reduce the downtime, the time that the road is closed while we do all these works. And there would be some great cost efficiencies. So if their works are delayed and they have a pretty significant impact, a delay, then absolutely that could have a pretty drastic impact for both Alinta and us into the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Thank you, Chief Officer Manners. Councillors, any other questions for around that K2A project? All right. Okay, councillors, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of noting the information contained in the report? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 11.2 is a tender for bridge maintenance works. So the report is seeking the appointment of a number of suppliers to a panel for said bridge maintenance works for a 2-year period and the option of a further 2 years. Details are from page 45 of the agenda. Can I have, there's a recommendation on the screen. Can I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Redwood. Seconder, thanks, Councillor McMichael. Councillor Redwood, anything to say?
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor McMichael? All right, let's put that to the vote then. All those in favour of approving that appointment? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 11.3 is a good news story. It's the installation of the ultrasonic digital water meters, better known as smart meters. So the report is seeking Council's endorsement for a full rollout of the smart meters throughout our water network. The total cost is going to be a sniff north of 4.4 million, but spread across 2 financial years. There is a recommendation on the screen. The details of this are from page 52 of the agenda. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Would you like to speak to this before we seek a seconder?
Oh, just very, very briefly. It's an excellent proposal. It'll save money, it'll save water, a win-win outcome, and it will allow us to tick off one of the first major projects in our brilliant region strategy.
Terrific. Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Do we have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Imad. This is great. Councillor Imad, would you like to speak to it at all?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Having looked at those water meters last week, I think they're a fantastic idea, and credit for Councillor Robinson for pushing for the past 4 years, I think, or maybe a decade, or who knows. But I think they're a great idea. They would be essential in a water-sensitive region. So, yep, I think we should adopt this, and it's a great idea.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Imad. Councillor Gatters.
Thank you. Echoing both those thoughts, obviously with water security top of mind for this term, I think this is a good way to collect the data. Also, just want to remind everyone of the great linkages here back to the brilliant region strategy. This is another piece of the foundational work that will help us move forward with that particular strategy in the term. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Gatters. Councillor McMichael.
Yes, look, in the trial, people found all kinds of leaks everywhere, and we were able to, in fact, find the leaks immediately and save water all over the place. And so we save both water and money, and so they're a fabulous idea, and it's great that we can have them now. So great.
Terrific. Councillor Witters.
Yeah. Besides what's already been said, which has been wonderful, I found from our discussions on Monday that this is a great example of using tomorrow's thinking to solve today's problems. It was mentioned on Monday that the water meters, the old water meters, slow down or something like that. So apparently you can change old technology with new stuff. Didn't know you could do that. So there's a few other things that maybe that sort of thinking in the future might come up. Like this is a great precedent to set that you can actually use different thinking to solve some older problems. Maybe things around solar panels in 20 years or things around wind turbines in another 15 or 20 years. That sort of thinking might come in handy. So it's good to see that it's being utilised now as a start for that sort of thinking.
Terrific. Thank you. All right, councillors, if there's nothing else, Councillor Robinson, because I know this sort of thing's dear to your heart, do you have any wish to make a right of reply? No. All right. Okay, councillors, all those in favour of the motion on the screen, thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 12.1, well, we now move to what is called the 12 series, which are the notices of motion. We have two notices of motion here. The first one is from Councillor Robinson, who has provided a notice of motion in relation to displaying responses to community consultation. Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, if I can get a second, I'd like to move the motion that is displayed in yellow on the screen. Well, I'll read it out then. Noting that the General Manager's comment that Council is moving to online submissions through the Engagement HQ platform in the first quarter of 2025, improving the accessibility of public submissions should be considered as part of this initiative.
Thank you. So that's Councillor Robinson's moving that. Councillor Redwood, you're seconding that. Excellent. Councillor Robinson, do you wish to speak now to, as there is a motion on foot?
Very briefly, when I submitted the motion, I didn't know about the move to online submissions through the Engagement HQ platform. Now that I do, it seems very sensible to consider how to improve the accessibility of public submissions as part of this initiative. So it makes sense, so let's just do it.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Does anyone wish to speak to this at all? Councillor Redwood?
To let you know that I'm delighted that Councillor Robinson appears delighted about this change. That's good. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Whilst the light of delight is shining in everyone's eyes, can we put this to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Next one, 12.2, improved community. Sorry, it was a notice of motion from Councillor Imad regarding Gyra's water supply and distribution. Councillor Imad, do you wish to speak to this at all?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Look, in light of the information I received from Mr. Burns on Monday, I'd like to defer this motion to the next meeting for amendments.
Okay. Maybe if I could suggest we just let this lapse and you could submit a new notice of motion for that rather than we go through the process of a deferral.
That is fine.
Okay, thank you. Well, for lack of a seconder, I declare that notice of motion lapsed. Item 13.1. The Traffic Advisory Committee. So the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of November 2024. The recommendation is that the minutes be noted. There was a fair bit of activity, as you can see from the screen, as always with the Traffic Advisory Committee. There is a recommendation. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor McMichael.
I'll move it. Yeah,
You'll move it. We might just second it and then you can speak to it. So Councillor Tabor is the seconder. Councillor McMichael, would you like to speak to that?
Once again, it's lovely to see all the activities that are happening in the region. So lots of events happening. Don't forget that Christmas in the Mall is happening both this coming Friday and in Gyra on the 6th of December. So it's terrific to see everyone putting their events in early again. That system is working really well and we're seeing events from January and February. So the transport, it's terrific. So, yeah, I've moved that all those events be carried. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McMichael. Anyone else wish to speak? No, thanks from Councillor Tabor. All right, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Robinson. Sorry, Councillor McMichael, can you turn your mic off, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
No, I just wanted to draw attention to the point G, that Council note Traffic for New South Wales requested that Council conduct traffic counts for the consideration of a pedestrian crossing at Barner Street at Falconer Street intersection, with further discussions at the next meeting. That sounds like an excellent initiative, so just thought I'd draw attention to it.
Thank you. That's great that you could get here. All right, councillors, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of noting those minutes, thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. We have two questions on notice. The first one is in regards to Malpas Dam, and it's a question on notice from Councillor Robinson regarding raising of the dam wall. And council is being asked to note the response. So I'll seek you to move your question on notice, Councillor Robinson, and then we'll seek a seconder. So,
yeah, thank you. I think it is very interesting, and I think we will have to consider what we need to do to get funding for raising the Malpas Dam wall, and the sooner we can do it, the better, just in case, like has happened with the rail trail, that funding evaporates. But that's just a thought. It may or may not happen.
Thank you. So that was moved. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Robinson's question on notice? Thanks, Councillor Witters. Does anyone else wish to speak to it? All right, let's vote in favour of noting the response or otherwise. Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. And the final question on notice is from Councillor Imad. It's in regards to council-owned property in Guyra. And again, council is being asked to note the response. But Councillor Imad, do you want to move that?
Yes, I'll move that.
Okay. Can we have a seconder, and then you might wish to speak to it? Thanks. Councillor McMichael is seconding. Councillor Imad, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I note here the GM's position that there will be some more information provided. I would just like to say that this question came up through the medical precinct. One of the doctors was seeking an answer about whether there's a residence available to offer to the new doctor coming to the area. I believe one of the doctors is leaving, so if I can get that information, I'll provide it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wonder, Mr. General Manager, is there an answer here yet, or it's still in train?
It's still in train, to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Mayor, but we certainly we'll come back before the next meeting and then just report formally to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, all those in favour of noting the response? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Councillors, that brings us to the end of the open session. Could I please have a motion to move into closed? And let's move by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Imad. Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour of moving into closed session, thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Councillors, welcome back to the open session of the OCM. I will ask the General Manager to read out the resolutions of the closed section.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 2 items in closed session. One is the EOI and RFT process and recommendations. ARC Retail Energy Supplier and Renewables Transition Partner. Resolved by Council that note the contents of this report and note the current and future actions to implement renewable energy retail supply to the whole of Council for implementation commencing 1 January 2025. And the second item was a Merrill Minute endorsement of expression of interest for the recruitment of a new General Manager. Resolved by Council that Council endorse the selection of Capstone as the qualified recruitment agency to manage the recruitment, selection and appointment of a new General Manager. That the General Manager's Performance Review Committee work with the successful recruitment agency to commence and establish the process to be undertaken for the recruitment of a new General Manager, and for the purposes of this recruitment, the General Manager's Performance Review Committee comprise Councillor Copeland, Councillor Redwood, Councillor McMichael, Councillor Imad and Councillor Gaddies. 3, the Council endorse the preferred candidate for approval prior to the appointment of the General Manager. 4, that the Mayor be delegated the role of negotiating with the preferred candidate to make the offer of appointment once approval to make an offer has been resolved by Council. And 5, an extension of James Ronkin's term as General Manager whilst the recruitment process is finalised. This term will be for 4 months, then monthly after that, as required and agreed with the Mayor. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr General Manager. Councillors, there being no further business, I declare this council meeting closed at 5:42 p.m. Thank you.